So the thing which already people always ask for in many like religious faculties or different, there's giving what we can is like pledge 10% of your income in order to help. And so for an American on higher income scale, I guess, is like that's 10K a year is a full-time, good-paying salary in India. And so the question which we can ask people, which can now, I think, turn into an easy yes, is if you had a second life where money didn't matter, what would you spend your time doing? What would be the highest impact thing that you would love to see in the world?
I would create a WishingWell Charity. I'll tell you more about it, but on the back burner, because I'm still creating my, cycles right now.
So what if that was the pledge, was to pledge that amount for someone to make that entire life? And now you also solve the problem of scalability. Because normally the scalability problem is like, for me on the studio side, I need to find good top-level operators who make sure that they're just overseeing each different champion. You directly have the leader of that champion, because it was their idea, who now has a full-time person and they can let this person go. I think the system would be best set up with two parts to turn this into a movement. I love thinking about the positive feedback loops, which blueprint an idea into like catalyzing success.
The key importance on how we design our company right now is keeping back some equity, not for ourselves, but to share with all the people, right? It kind of brings, one, ownership, so quality, it ensures inherent quality of product, and two, like just creativity, like you're gonna get the best out of them because they feel like they're building towards something just more than an hourly job.
Right. And the WishingWell, this sort of sounds similar to exactly what I'm talking about.
So I want to tell you about the WishingWell. And because for me, it's all about getting it done, right? Like I share so many ideas and I've ignited a lot of conversations, but this one's one that's super near and dear to my heart, and I would love to have it come into fruition. It kind of came to me in a dream in pieces, and it's exactly what you think it might be. It's a wishing well. It comes to, so anyone who has internet access or online capabilities can come in and make a wish. So obviously 99% of stuff, maybe 90% of stuff might just be like Santa Claus type stuff. Like I wish for a new Ferrari or whatever have you. But there's a place for that too. But I want to capture the 1% of people that are in dire need of support. Mm-hmm. So you create a system where with today, especially with AI, you can create APIs, application protocols to link resources geographically worldwide in real time, right? So all the remnants resources, we call them remnants because maybe that's not the right word, all the like retired resources or resources that are still high experience but no longer active in a career that might have relocated to a foreign country. Like Anna from South Africa might have, one of her parents might have cancer stage 3 or something like this, and requires assistance in a certain part of the world where she doesn't know what to do, and the family doesn't know what to do. She puts a request into the wishing well. It goes through and sorts all geographic locations, see where the projects are funded, and then designs multiple plans, and then ships these proposals out to cancer surgeons, cancer, specialists, and then potentially could come up with a solution for Anna and her family, right? Based on budgets and everything else, and all that can be done in just like a second, right? Yeah. And then in order to fund it, here's the best part, all the investors will love this. Everything else that comes through that funnel, it's pure human intention, right? Trends, from geographic location based on time. So you can like layer in, I used to put analytics, right, for a pretty big firm. So like you can layer in like holidays and whatever and figure out like what people are talking about, what directionally like children, parents, what people want, like what age group. So on the business side of it, it'll generate money. Yeah. But on the charitable side of it, just the 1% of the people who need it the most. My dream is to have the smallest voice be heard, right? Because I came from a refugee family, and I wouldn't be here right now.
Right. So here's how I just felt that the scope of this could be done, and I think it could be tied into basically one of the biggest things, of course, we need in the world is movements and positive narratives to attach to, and champions like of charity. Why do we not have an Elon Musk of charity? Mr. Beast fills that role to some degree, but he's not fully focused on that itself. And there's no platform where people are truly participating in that. And so I think the Wishing Well could be an app with 3 different sections of feeds to truly make it like just killer at facilitating this charitable network. One would be wishes. You submit your request for a wish, and this allows it to be basically a Kickstarter. It's in the format of phone scrolling. Most mobile traffic is now phone scrolling. No one's done Kickstarter on the phone, and to do this for charity is amazing. Now, people who are watching the feed can help sort the best stories to the top, even if they're not funding them. They click boost. So people will be able to boost the stuff to the top, which is the non-cheesy requests of saying, I want a Lamborghini. Maybe there's an intermediary team if you want to make sure that the feed is a little bit selective.
The selfless stuff should actually bubble to the top.
Correct.
The selfish stuff.
Correct. And anything which starts getting funding will get shown at the top as well. And so this is a great methodology to build that Wishing Well feed. And one of the other reasons that people would use the app is the other feed could accomplish exactly what I was just talking about, which is where you have people who are the funders, who are basically, I think a lot of people don't necessarily want to fund one-off excursions, but want to do a systemic empowerment towards this life path thing, especially the stuff which people say, if I could live a second life, I would do this. Giving them that opportunity to say, we will have someone do that full time if you can pledge 5% of your income, or let's say $300 a month for freshers is even one methodology for this. Okay, and then let me push this point out because I think this is really good. That sort of question does amazing on short form content. TikTok interviews in person. So you go to Beverly Hills, and that's where you start asking. The way some people ask people coming out of designer stores, hey, I like that designer, how much did you pay for it? You go down on Rodeo Road and start asking this question, hey, if you had a second life and could just focus on running a charity or, doing the most good you could in the world, what would you do? And then when after they tell you, you say, do you want to make that happen for $300 a month? And so you use that as a viral marketing engine for the app itself, for the Wishing Well. You make sure that anyone who signs up, requests a wish, agrees to give wish updates when their wish is fulfilled. So all the fulfilled wish, each week the app produces like wishes granted, just a supercharged video showing everyone who's now a part of the app is seeing just all the win. Yeah, it's wholesome. It's just fucking energetic movement of love. You could totally have a crypto token involved with this because this is perfect. Crypto is a shared faith system. So what gives us faith is where we will start putting our currency, especially as we start recognizing that is the new paradigm. That is what the true vision of Web3 represents.
And at the end of the day, you have to believe in the currency that you're putting money in.
You're supporting.
It's
yep.
you have to put faith in it, just like we put faith in our currency today.
And we didn't really get to choose that faith, right? We were born into a system. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a reason why so many people hate Web3 because of all the scamming that happened, but the underlying mechanism of what it represents is truly decoupling of a lot of corrupt power that's been held over the world. It is a force that will help bring forth the golden age. The third tab, we have requests for life paths, we have requests for wishes. I guess the third tab could still be in the wish category, which would be, I want people to wish in a sense of not, there's definitely a need for those one-off bases of, we need this surgery, and one of the ways people could help those requests for surgeries could be boosting those posts, just sharing it on another social media to try to find a doctor to agree to do it for free.
Mental health.
The final piece that I really want in there is like the startup college model, where someone pitches their startup idea, the Y Combinator model. And so this is where people pitch I want to fully focus my life, I want to work as an angel in the world, here's my plan, would someone support me? And I guess the third feed that you would have is the angels updating progress. The angels would be required to run TikToks, Shorts, and Reels accounts so that the app gains extra traction and attention, where they do a daily upvote, a daily video of what they accomplished that day.
Everybody's scrum.
They're scrumming in public. And there's a building in public movement, but this is loving in public. And it all brings traction back to the central ecosystem.
And connectivity.
And it brings
intimacy.
individuals, it's high transparency of who actually needs more funding, who's actually getting it done, and it super de-risks money, because if we give $300 to someone, we see what they produce in a month. This is why it's so effective for me on the venture building side, is that I'll hire someone who I think is a champion, and if they end up not working that well for a month, boom, they're gone. And rather than me investing $100,000 or even $500,000 in a startup idea, I lost $1,000. And typically I didn't even lose the $1,000. They did some things, they pushed the needle somewhat. It's like, this is a pretty effective method. And really what it moves towards is, on the education side, what is the final frontier of colleges and what is the reshaping of them, is just the connection directly with the North Star of value creation. That's what we've lost in the college format, is it's become a credential thing rather than being connected with maximizing the creation of value. I think of colleges today as a guru scam of their own. If a college is good enough, I can run a college. My college will pay you to go to the college, because I know that in 4 years, if I take a percent of whatever you're building or whatever you're doing with that time, we can make a good amount of money. It's like, if you're good enough at educating people to create value in the world, you should be able just to take a piece of that value. College should either be free or pay the people if it's good enough at teaching to create value in the current paradigm.
If they believe in themselves.
Well, yeah, as long as they're doing the coursework, they can definitely still fail out of the college.
A lot of the new
requirements.
Companies are creating in-house educational systems, right? So they're bringing on like their mentees or interns, and then they're creating, okay, well, what do you like? What are you compelled to do? What do you excel at? And then they create these, like, it's almost like building vocation within your own corporations.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to go to university, but it's really like Cisco does it, my own company does it, and it's just like you're basically just creating your own university,
Yep.
self-funding and investing. And they're not like, it's not like indentured servitude or
Right.
anything, right? Like, it's like, if you want to stay with us, these
Right.
are all the possibilities you can do.
So are you that guy to become the Mr. Beast of philanthropy? Is that, like, if this app exists, it's WishingWell, and it's taking off, are you the
loved the spotlight,
leader of that movement?
But this was something that I would speak up for. Yeah, it's always been a dream.
So at least super core supporter, potentially the face. If things swing in that direction, you're willing to step up to the plate.
It's I believe it takes a village, right? Kind of
Yeah.
like with our superfood company that we're just building right now. We're in our Series A.
I'm thinking about, I guess, how YouTube and how the biggest movements have formed. The Mr. Beast model is like 4 people,
Yeah.
and there's the characters of the show, and kind of being the angels of the network. And so, yeah, you'd find your other team members to.
When you find the right alignment, which I think.
And then you guys are essentially just going around to the village members who are all making it happen and helping platform all the stories and having all that stories come in, and editing team is putting that together to just catalyze that
like a
movement.
show.
Yeah.
I would imagine so. I mean, can you imagine, like, just the airlines alone on providing logistics? It's a 501(c)(3) write-off, right? And then they can put all their standby seats. Like, we just have a system that ties it in. They get a nice fat write-off. They get the HR benefit and the publicity. And they're literally helping get specialized resources to where they need.
One of the things that I came to realize was, for a little bit I got pilled on the internet that I still do think that there's some very misaligned values, like World Economic Forum and stuff, which is like depopulation and agenda, whatever. But I thought it was a little bit worse than it is in terms of a lot of the people in these groups truly want to do good, and it's more of a skill issue or an understanding of the current paradigm of social media and connecting with the masses, right? It needs to work through the people.
Or education. They know what they know.
Right.
Sometimes what they learn, just like doctors, you're going to learn through a keyhole. All you're going to do is know what you've been taught if you're not open enough to go experience it.
Right. And so I think the second there is something hyper positive making all that change, the money will continue to flow and be there for it.
This is
you know what I mean?
This is where your concept of charity businesses come into play, and how it can be super powerful in changing our social economic structure for our future.
Yeah, well, it can truly be we have venture capital ecosystem. We don't have conscious capital ecosystem yet.
CVC, a charity venture capital.
Well, we just need we don't have an accelerator, an incubator for that. That's terrible. And so I'm very, very bullish on this idea. I can have that app that I just scoped out made, right? I have the base technology. I just need to create a few different special buttons. I have a 501c3, so the basis of things are here. You can make a new 501c3 if wanted, but at least for now it can give the benefits. So I think a lot of the pieces are here. I can get the platform made. I could have a pitch deck made for you if you're going to champion it around.
Yeah, that's what I do. I fund, well, not me directly. I'm going through some funding cycles right now, but I'm pretty good at finding stuff and people, like-minded people.
Amazing. So would that be the best? Do you need the tech? I guess I could at least do an MVP of the tech, because it would be good to have it on your phone, showing it off.
Yeah, it doesn't even, like, we would have to have a lot of contractual partnerships and probably work out contracts with potential partners, but within all the different services that we would want, from CPG to branding to medical to pharmaceutical, pharmaceutical companies or companies like in stage 1, 2, or 3 clinical trials.
Yeah.
Just getting that big map.
That part is beyond me. In terms of the way I look at this, I mean, and I'm not saying that that's a thing not to do.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's not part of my education stack.
Your thinking is fine though. We start with a general layer, right? And then we can go deeper as we build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think setting up all those things is great. My thoughts is there's a few core components. It's the application itself, the one person to go do TikTok interviews, likely in Beverly Hills. Lots of creators out there anyways, where they ask people, what would you do if you could have a second person? Just as an initial direct, it's almost like a sales agent where the work is the marketing. This was very successful for me with the vape business. I used UGC, and then on our website we said, make TikToks make money. And we also turned all of the shipping of the product into content we'd post on TikTok. Thing we would ship out, we'd get another order, and so that it was just a flywheel. I love content flywheels, and I love the idea of the person who is pitching this service to people. Putting them on camera helps them say yes as well to sign up to pay $500 a month, because they have to be in Rodeo Drive potentially with like a Gucci bag and then be like, nah, I'm not gonna pay $500 a month to the life path that I believe was the most important thing I would do if I don't care about money. That's that might have a pretty decent conversion rate. If someone's out there for 8 hours a day, you might be catalyzing a lot of direct signups. And those direct signups, that's going to be a lot of content pumping out of people who start living a life of charity.
It's not a non-return donation, right? It's investing in your dream.
Exactly.
That's the big takeaway.
Beautiful.
Let's do it.
All right, so Michael, you like the name WishingWell?
I'm not stuck on it, but that's always been kind of how I describe it over the last 2 years. You have to remember where my other business, even though the small.
Wishing you well.
Wishing us well, wishing you well, wishing everyone well.
That's a little long. That would be WEL though. Well. Well, oh wait, no, it wouldn't. I did that wrong.
Oh, WEW. Well, like.
Woo.
Wishing everyone life. We can play with that. There's a lot of good there. And it could be targeted differently too. So there can be one specific for medical, like high priority, that you could brand it differently, but it all goes into the same system for different audiences, down to the usability. One
app can have different subverses like I showed you. But to make it simple for the MVP, we'll just start with WishingWell.
Yep.
Custom button on there. Take away the like function, make it an up arrow, which we call boost, because we're allowing someone to basically boost visibility towards something that they like if they're not funding it. Add a funding button. We don't need to do the payment rails right away, but just to show the functionality. And then
probably get the payment rail donated too.
I mean, we can just use Stripe. I want to get the core tangibles clocked in. We don't need payment rails donated, basically. Stripe is super quick to set up. It's just a little bit more deft. So, and then a deck, which will be to rock. We'll make the deck. Or you can try one of the new design interns.
5-year projection or 3-year projection on the deck, and then.
So I don't have anyone for financial modeling well. And does this need a financial model as a charity? Because I don't think this is a for-profit company.
I think it's 2 components, right? So
there can be a token for sure.
the human desire component can generate human behavior intention, and it could be extremely valuable for companies like Gardner and analyst companies. So that can help us seed and fund and fuel charity side as well as we get started. At least that was the intention. We're gonna have so much data there. We can have AI or kind of like an engine, scroll through it to categorize it and segment and kind of use anonymous data to help drive delivery of better marketing, more well-intentioned consumer behavior and consumer like design for anything from application design, web design, to game design, or just trying to figure out what the trending topics are around the world, and they'll be split up geographically, right? Does that make sense?
It does. I think that's phase 2, because initially there's not going to be enough. We can just do one sort of main feed, because there's
MVPs. That's fine, but I feel like in order for us to that seed, right? Even though like our primary focus is the charity, right? But there's a lot of dev time that for what we were talking about on how to do it, integrating in and then partnering up between like all the other charities, government systems, other collaborative corporate systems, from like airlines to logistics to...
I don't think that stuff needs to be developed into the app though at all.
No.
And it's more of just, those are functions of cost savings. You know, those are like, they're non-necessary partnerships. They're great partnerships if they come along and if they're in the network. Yeah.
Self-fund all these projects.
Yeah, those are expenditure decreases, basically. And those things will naturally come to us via a movement build, you know, that the people will provide value because they also want to be attached to this thing. And we'll mention, this person sponsored this, you know, they sponsored that. And, you know, it's like, that's what you're doing, is you're a platform to show charity. The world needs this so bad, man. Like a movement and a leader that builds a system that just helps platform goodness for the world that can scale.
Why do you get it? That's huge.
Huge.
Yeah. I was trying to explain this to some private equity guys, and they're like, wait, so how do we make money? I'm like, you guys are missing the point. But if you guys want to make money, I mean, you can make a shit ton of it, because it's literally like human desire and sentiment when you capture it the right way. I mean, the intent is to not, you know, sell data in that manner, but on the top line, you can get directional data and be able to pivot and build companies based on what truly people want, right? When they're making wishes, like you really kind of, and you can infer or start to understand like how they're talking or what's really being asked for, if there's commonalities or patterns in certain parts of the world. So you'll probably see a lot of people just asking for peace out of the Ukraine, right? Or just harmony out of that part of the world, because they're highly impacted by it. So we can almost do a heat map to kind of like see what the top line words are and have a dashboard for, one, the angels, and two, anybody that wants to be involved, and kind of filter by what drives them and what they care about, right? If they care about pushing to cancer funds, or if they care about mental health because they're impacted by somebody who committed suicide in their own family. But it's just kind of a nice layer to aggregate and kind of create unity and build human connection, and also share experiences and success stories, and kind of what you were talking about, kind of build like good news for a change, and kind of what the stuff we're hearing today.
Someone mentioned that in the kitchen earlier, that they wanted to start an app called Good News. That's a good name for a news app. I didn't like the data idea. I think it's just too, I don't see feasibility, functionality, and I think you just see more privacy concern from it. So in general, the sentiment of the funders and building an interest profile from the funders, and just being a source of a place that informs charitable giving, that is leverage in its own right. And it's the right type of leverage for the future that we're entering, which is karma points and driving the world towards a positive future. And it's I think the only way that I do see this monetizing is the YouTube channel. We could get a bunch of ad revenue if it's getting tons of views. Obviously, nonprofits pay the executives well, because you want to maximize the time savings anyways, that they can live and do a good lifestyle. And I think to make being a charity founder who succeeds a ton cool, you can still live somewhat of a good lifestyle. There's obviously something to be said for the aesthetic super saver charity leader, but I think there's a fine line. I have some ideas on the other companies that basically, one of the biggest leverage points is that as you're building a charity movement, now all your other charity ideas, you can make sure get funded and get traction and get style points. And so that means ideas like creating designer luxury brands, where we do a paradigm shift of, if a penny saved is a penny earned, a Louis bag is a home burned. We actually create bags that when you buy the bag, you build a house, that ties in, because all that needs, that's something that will become a thing. It just doesn't exist yet, right? This bag not only is a Trump card in status. You show up to the party with that bag, and another lady asks, and she's got Louis Vuitton, and you're like, oh yeah, I did a tax deductible donation, and I built a house in Bangladesh, and this bag represents it. You just flexed the fuck out of her Louis Vuitton bag. You just made her look like a shallow POS, like it's a total Trump card, and it's tax deductible. So I see that as another inevitable thing, which I can call redefining status, a very systemic altruism play. Those things are super exciting. I think the biggest capital play would be like if you're raising VC funds for this at all, it would probably be from Web3 companies on the basis of the token. Because since this is literally potentially the best methodology to give the world faith, then creating a token, tokens are literally just shared faith systems, then you may have the best performing token in the world. I mean, why would this not become bigger than Bitcoin if this movement truly emerges? All right. This is going on. This is going on my YouTube channel too, and then I'm sending it to Turok, Michael. Turok's my head designer. Michael's my head engineer who built that app and has a team. And we'll make an app for you and we'll make a deck for you. And then you're going to champion it and you're going to make this stuff happen and find the other people who will. I mean, I don't know if you have the funds to give this the initial funding. I think the initial thing that would be an expenditure would be hiring a TikToker in LA to just go start that channel to get people to sign up, because that would be a positive feedback loop of funding for it. I think if they're paid $5,000 a month, then they need to get, you could take part of the pledges from people, of course, to try to repay the expense there, to make this a business where we can hire then another person who's going out somewhere else and saying, what would you do if you could have a second life? And we just see how much that could scale, which regions where that's scalable. I think you could make the pledge $1,000 a month, and I think you could pay $500 a month to the actual person and have 500 of that for the operative costs, meaning they only need to get 10 people in an entire month, which means in 2 full days of filming out there, they need to get one person to say yes. And you get all that content and potentially start growing the channel, and then you have a way for people to go say they'll do it from the link. And once one video goes viral, you're going to have a mad influx of people who want to do this. And then the good thing is that normally the bottleneck would be on the talent side of getting people to do that. But that's the thing where I'm like, I don't know anyone else in the world who's as good as me at bulk talent recruiting scale stuff. So that's where I feel like I've had this resource, and that's what's had me start dreaming up, like, how can I, like, oh my gosh, I have so much access to, like, premier cost intelligence in India. Like, I flew out there, and that's when I learned about the websites that they use for everyone in colleges and stuff. Don't know why I couldn't find that online. Like, I did a decent amount of research of hiring in India. But yeah, this is the biggest one for freshers and people still figuring out their careers. That's why it's like, obviously paying people who are just graduating college is the lowest cost price. And then also there could be a willingness for people to drop out of college if they're getting locked into a
We have similar programs
paid job.
Too. Like at my university, University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, we had an engineering program where you can, for your master's, you can design, like co-project with a startup to design them like an MVP, right?
Yeah.
And usually it's just for credit, but imagine like giving students, and I don't know if there's like an issue with this or not, but give students equity. How cool would that be? Right, so out the gate, in school, they're already working on something they're dreaming or passionate about, or they're learning about a real-world company that's creating impact in the world. So you can shift the way that they're thinking and being educated from the get-go with a real-world experience. Like, that would be neat, because that's the shift that we need right now immediately with universities in the U.S. here at home.
And the final request is one person from the media team to take the best parts of this video where we're just explaining the core concepts and the ideas, and to make it animated, with clips and things that make it just an engaging video which explains the core concept of this idea. Somewhat, it's like a pitch video. That's the final step. Any last words?
No, sounds good. Let's do it.
And we did this all while Brock and Bianca are sleeping next to us.
They're exhausted for all the good work that they put out in the world.